Cool beans. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with my disappointments from the year. So we're at the start of my kind of end of the year content. And we're going to be starting with the saddest thing, which is disappointments. But it's just going to get it out of the way. The next video you see will be my surprises of the year, so you do have that to look forward to. And I do have 7 of each. I decided to kind of like narrow it down because I didn't have that many. The weird thing about like reading for me is that if I don't like a book, I'm just going to DNF it usually. I'm not going to like make myself read it if I'm really, really not liking it. But there are some books that slip through the cracks. They start off really good and they end up or like they're from authors I really love and it just kind of like didn't do too well. So I do have 7 to talk about. Some of these I don't actually own anymore because I got rid of them. But let's just get right into it. The first, I'm kind of going without even meaning to in order of like when I read them. So the first one was My Calamity Jane, and this is by the Lady Janies. This is the final in their kind of Jane series, and this one takes place in kind of like a Western kind of setting, and it deals with werewolves. So I love these series. They've also got a Marie one they just started, and it's basically taking someone in history or someone in fiction, like a classic, and just kind of giving them a little bit of a twist. So going into this one, I was a little wary just because it was set in like a Western setting, and that's not particularly my favorite, but I did like their writing. The writing is the only reason I honestly kept reading. I didn't really care about any of the characters, and I don't know if it's because maybe I was distracted while reading, or I don't know what it was, but this one just kind of hit differently, and I did love it. But I loved the other 2 in the series, so I do love these writers, and I loved the writing. I just didn't like the story itself, and this one just kind of fell a little flat for me, unfortunately. But I'll still read anything that these 3 authors write together because amazing, amazing writing. Just iffy everything else. The next one is The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden, I believe, and this is the first in a trilogy that I will not be continuing. But I read this at the near the beginning of the year as part of like one of my first like secret TBRs I was doing, which was reading people's favorites from the year, and I'm not sure why, it just didn't work. The writing was very nice, I did enjoy the writing, but the plot was so slow that I just couldn't get invested in it, and I didn't really care about anything. Plus I think there was a weird romance possibly starting at the end of this book, and I was not on board for that. So it was just an all-around kind of iffy experience. I've been separated from it for a little bit, so I don't remember exactly all of my thoughts, but I did finish the book. I think I ended up giving it 3 stars, because there were parts of it that I enjoyed, but a lot of it I just didn't care, and we were in different places as well, and so at some points it just kind of got disconnected. I got disconnected from the story and kind of what was happening, and I'm not sure what could have fixed that, but I didn't care. Like, a couple of the characters, I liked the main character and I liked the stepmom character. I thought those were really interesting. I liked learning their backstories, but everything else about this town was kind of boring. It just kind of, nothing really happened, you know? And then things happened at the end and I'm not even sure what happened, to be honest. So yeah, this one kind of fell flat for me in the plot department. So I don't think I'm gonna continue with the series either. The next one is actually a thriller that I read, I don't know, somewhere in the middle of the year, and it was called All of the Missing Girls, and the idea of this was very fascinating. It took place in a small town where this girl had kind of like left and was coming back because I believe the father has moved to a home, and so she and her brother are kind of trying to get the house taken care of so they can sell it. So she's hoping to only be there for a hot second, but it also revolves around this thing that happened in their past and this girl that went missing. And the thing that I liked about it was I thought the idea of it was fascinating as far as the format goes, because like it's told backwards. So it starts at the end of her, I think she stayed there for 2 weeks. So at the end of her 2 weeks, I mean, the first chapter kind of is her going to the town to kind of set up the scene so you know what's going on. and then it starts at the end of her 2 weeks and it goes back. And everything happened at the end of the book, aka within the first couple of days. And the idea was interesting. I liked how it was written in the sense of like that format. It did not work, honestly. It would have worked better for this story specifically if they had just told it normally. And I think that even though it like gave away all of the things at the beginning of the book, then you would have had the rest of the book to watch as the world and the police and, you know, other people in the town are trying to figure out what's going on, and this girl kind of hiding everything. And so I understand why it was written the way it was written. I just don't think it benefited the plot very much, and honestly the plot was super boring. And we got to the end and I was like, this is okay. It felt like the end wasn't worth waiting for, I guess. Like, it was fine, it was a twist, but it wasn't like anything spectacular, and the way it was built up made it kind of feel like it was going to be the spectacular thing, and it really kind of wasn't. So yeah, not my fave. Not my fave. I liked the idea of it, but I don't think the execution was very well done. The next one is also one that was just really boring, and that was Mermaid Moon by Susan Kokol. Now, this is one of the most stunning books that I own. It's sprayed edged, and then also like the covers have like roses all over them. They're so pretty. And it's basically this mermaid who wants to know who her mom is, but they've been cursed, her and her father and her kind of like mermaid clan, to forget her mother because her mother was human, and I believe died when she gave birth to her. Did I make that up? I might have made that part up. But she's trying to figure out who her mom is, and so she goes on land and gets legs, and it kind of just goes from there. And the writing is very fantastical and very beautiful in that sense, but the story is really boring, and I'm honestly not even sure what happened. I was reading it, and like, she gets involved with this prince and his mom somehow, and it just, I don't know, it didn't sit right with me, and I didn't like the way that she was treated, and I also just didn't understand what was happening. Like, what was the point? Like, we kind of didn't even, I feel like we never even actually learned who the mother was. Like, the point of going on to this freaking island was to learn this thing, and I don't even think we got that. Now, it's been a little bit since I read it, so we might have, and I've just forgotten, but like, I don't remember this mother character. So like, what was the point of this book? There felt like there was no point. This story didn't need to happen. It was being told, and I'm reading it, and the entire time I'm like, why is this a story that needs to be told? So, very pretty book. I'm still holding on to it because it's really pretty, but I might have to, I don't know, it's taking up space that needs to be given to other things. So I'm not in love with it. It was honestly just kind of okay. The writing was really pretty, the book itself was really pretty, but the story just fell all kinds of flat. The next one I'm not going to talk too long about because I've ranted about it many, many times on this channel, and that is Mary B. And this is a reimagining of Mary Bennet from Pride and Prejudice, kind of giving her her due, because she really doesn't get a whole lot of time in the original text. I'll make sure I link up the vlog, because I did talk about it and read it for a readathon. But basically, shortened rant version is that I didn't like the things that were done to Mary. I didn't like some of the situations that the characters like Lizzie and Darcy and Jane and people like that we have come to know really well from the original changed in this book. And now there are some things that I understand why the author did what they did, and it was a sense of me just not liking some of the situations. Like, some of the stuff that happened to Lydia, I didn't like that that happened, but that could realistically happen to Lydia. Whereas some of the stuff that happened to Lizzie and Darcy, I feel like, after coming to know these characters really well, wouldn't have actually happened to Lizzie and Darcy. So it felt like the author had taken these characters that we had known so well and twisted them to fit her plot, instead of fitting her plot to the characters that were already created. And so it just didn't work for me, okay? I liked the idea of Mary. I liked the idea that Mary kind of comes into her own in this book, which is really nice to see for a character that gets no time on the page, basically. And she's like the sister we know the least about, I feel like. So it was really cool to see that, and I have some other like versions where they focus on Mary, and I'm excited about those because I do think Mary deserves some time. This just wasn't it. I just really, really disliked this book, and it was funny because like the writing was okay, like it wasn't anything spectacular, and it didn't feel like it was like Austen, and it also didn't feel like it wasn't like Austen's writing, so it was really just kind of mediocre writing. But the plot development and what she did to these people, oh my goodness, I didn't like it. I was so done. I was not happy with that one. It just felt so unrealistic for these characters that we have known really well from the original. The next one is a little similar to one that I talked before, and that is My Contrary Mary by the Lady Janies. Now this is the first in their Mary series, and I think I hyped it up too much in my head. I think that's why this kind of disappointed me, because it was a good book and I really enjoyed the end, and I liked the twists and all like the little hints and stuff that they put in the book for like history and things that happen. That's my favorite part about their stories, is not only are they really funny, but they always kind of like throw in little things like historically that would have been happening, or you know, callbacks to things that would have happened at that time. And if you are someone like me who was obsessed with like this time period and Mary Queen of Scots and things like that, Tudor England, stuff like that, then they would have, those moments were great. But I don't know if it was just because I was so excited about this book, and I think I hyped it up too much in my head, because most of the middle I was just kind of bored. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bored. So I'm excited to see where they go, because they have 2 more Mary books, and I don't know a whole lot about those Marys, so maybe not knowing too much about them actually helped me a little bit. But I'm willing to give this one another shot at some point, just to kind of like see if I just needed to focus on the story a little bit more, and if there's actually moments where it was actually better than I remembered. But it just kind of fell flat. Like, it was okay. It had its moments, but it wasn't anything spectacular, and I really wanted it to be spectacular. And the very last book that I'm going to talk about today is actually a standalone manga, and that is 7 Days, Monday to Sunday, and this is by Vino Takabana, and the art is by Rito Takari. So this is kind of like, so it's set in high school, or like the equivalent of high school, and so you've got a 3rd year and a 1st year, and the 1st year is known for dating people for a week and a week only, and the 3rd year asks him out on a Monday and he agrees, and so they kind of go out for the week, and it's their relationship and the possibility of it continuing. And I liked that we learned why this boy does the week only kind of thing. He's been hurt in the past, and so he's trying to kind of get over that and find his right person. And I liked seeing this male-male romance. However, the actual story and writing was so confusing, because there were moments in here where, like, usually when you're reading mangas, you can tell what's in someone's head and like what they're thinking and what they're saying out loud, whereas in this book it was really hard to tell which was which, so I couldn't tell half of these conversations what was going on, because they were all in the same kind of font and the same kind of speech bubbles. I could not honestly tell at times. Like, sometimes they did this where, like, you know, that's obviously him thinking and that's what they're saying out loud, but sometimes they weren't doing that. They were just kind of like thought bubbles, but you couldn't tell they were thought bubbles versus speech bubbles, and it was really confusing. And I don't know if that's like, I'm not sure that's on the artist, I'm not sure that's on the author, I'm not sure who that's on, but it really hindered my enjoyment of this. Like, their story is super cute and it had its very, you know, cute moments, but it, like, it's not memorable, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is like, I remember the issues I had with it, but I don't remember the story itself. I don't remember anything. I remember these characters getting over some stuff, and I did like that this was a standalone manga, because there's not very many of those that I have found. So I liked that, because you could actually just like dive into this and know that the story is going to be done when this is over. But the execution was really lacking for me as far as what I expected and what I got, and kind of just like pure confusion through most of this book, which is not really what you want when you're reading a book. So yeah, that was unfortunately a disappointment for me as well. And that's it. Those are the 7 books that I was the most disappointed with this year. So stay tuned. Like I said, the next video you will see in a couple of days will be my surprises and things that I just absolutely loved. So get ready for a gush fest, because we will have one of those in a few days. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down below if you've read any of the books that I haven't mentioned in this video, or if there was a book or one or two books this year that like really disappointed you as far as you know, your reading goes. Let me know those as well. But if you like this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you want to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links, so don't forget to check all of those out, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!